zetu. Sisi tunawapenda sana. We love our country. Tanzania ni nchi yetu, hatuna nchi nyingine. Kwa hiyo sisi hatuna shida kabisa na nchi yetu. Sisi tunatetea utekaji.
Peaceful protests quickly turned violent. Demonstrators demanded electoral reforms and freedom of political expression. But instead of listening, authorities answered with force. The police fired tear gas, protesters set vehicles ablaze, and hospitals began to overflow with the wounded.
Guys, what is going on in Tanzania now?
By nightfall, the government imposed a strict curfew, ordering citizens to remain indoors after 6 p.m.
2 people, a civilian and a police officer, were killed during election day demonstrations in Tanzania, with the state putting the city of Dar es Salaam under 6 p.m. curfew, following a tense election day marked by protests and unrest across many parts of the neighbor to the south. Dar es Salaam Special Zone Police Commander Jumanne Muliro did not specify, however, when the curfew is expected to be lifted.
The message was clear. Dissent will not be tolerated. Even more chilling, the internet went dark.
I know you'll be asking the same question, that what is going on in Tanzania? Political protests. The Tanzanian youth has wake up doing political protests. Bad news in Tanzania. The same thing happened recently in Cameroon.
NetBlocks confirmed a nationwide blackout, cutting Tanzanians off from the world and from one another. But when the light of truth is blocked, anger only burns brighter. As fear deepens, reports now claim that thousands of Tanzanians have gathered outside military barracks, pleading with soldiers to intervene.
Sisi tunawapenda sana. We love our country. Tanzania ni nchi yetu, hatuna nchi nyingine. Kwa hiyo sisi hatuna shida kabisa na nchi yetu. Sisi tunatetea utekaji.
The rumor, circulating across verified accounts on social media, suggests a desperate call for the army to take control. Whether true or not, the sentiment reveals something undeniable. A nation that no longer trusts its leaders to listen. To understand this eruption, we must rewind. President Samia Suluhu Hassan rose to power in 2021 after the death of John Magufuli. At first, she was hailed as a reformer, a leader who would restore free speech and reopen political space. But as the years passed, the optimism faded. Opposition figures were arrested, critics disappeared, and elections became predictable rituals of victory for the ruling CCM party, which has never lost a vote since independence.
Using very repressive laws that are very vague, applying them differently to the opposition, to the citizens, to the journalists, just to keep them repressed. So with this human rights crisis, we are seeing silenced voices, we are seeing a repressed opposition, and we're seeing very little civic participation.
Now, with the main opposition leader jailed on treason charges and his party boycotting the election, many Tanzanians feel the ballot has lost its meaning. Human rights groups call it a wave of terror. The government calls it maintaining peace. But peace built on fear is not peace. It's control. What's happening in Tanzania is more than a local dispute. It's the voice of a generation demanding dignity. Across Africa, young people are tired of recycled promises and leaders who rule until the end of time. And now, from Dar es Salaam to Yaoundé, they're drawing a line in the sand. Many observers are comparing President Suluhu's crackdown to that of Paul Biya in Cameroon. Both leaders face growing youth movements. Both rely on security forces to silence protest. And both stand accused of betraying the ideals they once swore to protect. The only difference, this time, it's a woman leading the charge. And that makes it even more shocking. Is President Suluhu following the footsteps of Paul Biya? Or is she trying to prove that repression has no gender? Either way, the result is the same: silence. fear, and resistance. Tonight, Dar es Salaam is under curfew. Shops are shuttered, roads deserted, and the air heavy with uncertainty. In the border town of Tunduma and the city of Mbeya, demonstrations have spread. Small flames of defiance flickering across the nation. Tanzanian youth say they will not back down. "We are tired," one protester told the BBC. "We just want an independent electoral commission, so every Tanzanian can choose the leader they want." The government insists the election was free and fair, but fairness cannot live where freedom is dead. This is not an isolated storm. It's part of a continental awakening. From the protests in Senegal to the uprisings in Cameroon, Africa's Gen Z has become a force that refuses to be silenced. They are connected, fearless, and ready to challenge power, whether it wears a suit, a uniform, or a smile. And that connection terrifies those who still believe they can govern forever. What happens next depends on how far the government is willing to go and how long the people are willing to endure. If the curfew holds and the internet stays dark, Tanzania could descend into the same quiet fear that haunts other nations. But if the protests continue, and if the world is watching, this moment could mark a turning point. Perhaps, just perhaps, the youth of Africa are writing the next chapter of liberation. One protest, one voice, one tweet at a time. Tonight, Tanzania stands between fear and freedom. A president once praised as a reformer now risks being remembered as another ruler who chose control over courage. And, as we've seen in Cameroon, repression may silence the streets, but it cannot silence the spirit. Because in Africa today, the people are no longer waiting for change. They are becoming it. You've been watching the African Discovery, uncovering Africa's untold stories. Sirens echo through the night, and a new generation is refusing to bow.
CCM! Hatutaki! CCM! Hatutaki! CCM!
Kopio Tanzania wankasa omo president a otizo sia eyo ba yefra no Samia Suluhu Hassan ai eye ade a ekoso enye se bi nsi da but eye Samia epenso no asa e kamia se aye west yenim na nko mo dwen se oba mom ebedi ade ana ebetimi ama eye asundwi abakakra but e kamia se Samia Suluhu Hassan ni se din correct na mebo a mo fa ncham din a gogo dem a me na mebo no mo fa no sa e kamia se on de oba ye no a omoto aba no wie no eye omo pese omo yi oba no firo na soja aban esan ebedi so e wo Tanzania e na ama eye youth no asore na me no ka se mami anetoso 6 e wo Tanzania bakwasem a only 6 president a wabedi so first time female abedi so anase oba abedi Tanzania konja no so ana nnuama we ekos e wo Tanzania ho no.
A curfew has been declared, the internet cut off, and the people's voices drowned in tear gas. But in the heart of the storm, Africa's youth are reminding the continent that silence is no longer an option. Just when the world thought it was over, reports say protesters have stormed military barracks, pleading for the army to take control. In what was meant to be a moment of democracy, Tanzania has found itself repeating the mistakes of others. Just like Cameroon, under Biya's iron rule, the government faces its own people, not with dialogue, but with force. President Samia Suluhu Hassan, once celebrated as a symbol of hope and reform, now stands accused of walking the same path of repression. A nation watches in fear, while the rest of Africa asks,
the reason why Tanzania youth no omuye protest we protest na akofa areho sem bebre any owuo ne nuamaseye bebre akopiem wo Tanzania aye areho sem ama Africa nyina wiase kubata ne de no ho abegim ya ehɔ no kra na mempese mete no youth no protest a omo ye nyina ne se maame we ebetra akonya no so no empanyimfo bi wɔ aban no omo didi sika bi nkwase sika bi a omo dwen ho omo nte ase one I was say maame ne chichi omo tuma na say maame no edi omo fa mra kwan so a maame no endi ho nwuma bia two youth no ebuafu say maame no na setena oni omo te ase president ewa Tanzania ho no omo ani so ana say omo ne enya adwen three omo se ebeya anka maame ne firi so na soja aban embedi so senia Burkina Faso soja aban di so a se Burkina Faso esi ekọ no de ohwe nuama be miensa nan bi na eye Tanzania youth no akabo ma omo asore wakapa eye protest ya akunkum ene nuama bone omo eti omo against eye political party otiso ene soja for omo ho ama ebi ayakeka nipa omo ye innocent ewo ho enti ende nsema efri Tanzania ana mede beso mo me da se onya amre ekohe video yi makramo bye bye.
A curfew has been declared, the internet cut off, and the people's voices drowned in tear gas. But in the heart of the storm, Africa's youth are reminding the continent that silence is no longer an option. Just when the world thought it was over, reports say protesters have stormed military barracks, pleading for the army to take control.